Shut up and dance with me. My witty name. Chapter 6. Glad you came. Wednesday. Group chat. Family barbecue. Today's menu. Roasted Lance. Uptown Hunk. Can you guys please stop yelling? It was funny the first couple times, but it's getting old real fast. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Seriously, we can barely hear our own music. If you don't stop, I'm cutting off your music altogether. I must ask you for your soul. Ah, yes, speaking of that, Pidge, Hunk, I've been meaning to speak with you about tampering with studio wiring and equipment. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. I played the fifth. Uptown Hunk. Innocent whistling. Nita and to Hunk and Pidge's original point, I agree. Luna goddess. We can hear you two all the way on the second floor. Nita and don't make us come up there. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Ooh, that on a mission. Uptown Hunk. Does that make Allura mom? Viva la Lance. Pidge! Cuckoo, motherfuckers. What did I do? Viva la Lance. Can you please tell Keith that he can trust me to flip him? Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Keith, you most definitely cannot trust Lance to flip you. Viva la Lance. Pidge! Last resort. Thank you, Pidge. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Anytime, man. Viva la Lance. Pidge, I can't believe you! You betrayal! Cuckoo, motherfuckers. I call him like I see him. Viva la Lance. Rude! I am totally trustworthy. Uptown Hunk. They ever point, dude. Viva la Lance. Hunk! Uptown Hunk. You've never really practiced flips before. Auditions are in less than a week. I can't in good conscience recommend it. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Plus, you have noodle arms. Viva la Lance. I do not! I can do handstands! I must ask you for your soul. Lance has a point. That takes quite a bit of strength to hold one's body weight steady. Uptown Hunk. Yeah, but it's different throwing around someone else's weight. I must ask you for your soul. Also, a very good point. Not to mention the point of Lance's pasta arms. Viva la Lance. I do not have noodle arms! Nita and. Debatable. How do we define noodle arms? Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Skinny little sticks with skin. That kind of flail and wobble around a lot. Luna goddess. That sounds an awful lot like Lance. Viva la Lance. Babe, I can lift! I'll bench press you any day! Luna goddess. Is that so? Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Ha! Uptown Hunk. Huh! Nina and. I must ask you for your soul. That's an amusing sentiment, Lance. Viva la Lance. Why is no one ever on my side? Last resort. We don't like siding with the losing side. Viva la Lance. Excuse? Last resort. She will destroy you. Viva la Lance. Oh yeah? And how would you know? Nita and. She beat him in a plank off last week. Last resort. She cheated. Luna goddess. If you can't take the heat, get out of the gym. I won fair and square. Last resort. You cheated, and you know it. Luna goddess. And how did I cheat, Keith? Nita and. Yes, Keith, why don't you share with the class? Last resort. No. Fuck off. Viva la Lance. I bet you won because Keith sucks. Do you even lift, bro? Last resort. Yes. Viva la Lance. Oh! Uptown Hunk. Not to distract or anything, but I'd like to bring us back around to the fact that Lance should not attempt to flip Keith. Like, I'm actually kind of worried that he's going to try. And you should definitely not do that, Lance. Nita and. I agree, it's too late to throw something like that into the mix. Maybe next time. I must ask you for your soul. Please do not bleed on the dance room floors, I just had them polished. No studio policy. You bleed, you clean it up. No exceptions or excuses. Viva la Lance. Why does no one believe in me? Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Must we return to noodle arms? Plus, Keith is a fatty. Last resort. Rude. Nita and. He was the pudgiest little kid. Last resort. Shiro! Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Yeah, I remember those days. Little baby pudgy Keith with bright skin and chubby cheeks and hair a brush good at time. Last resort. Fuck off. Luna goddess. Aww, he sounds so cute. I want pictures. I must ask you for your soul. Second it. Last resort. No. Lance wants you all to know that he's doing handstands to prove his strength. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Knock him over! Up, down, hunk. Knock him over. Need a hand. Keith, don't knock him over. I must ask you for your soul. Please don't injure him. He'll mope for weeks if he misses another round of auditions. There's only so much wallowing my old fist can take. Viva la Lance. Keith knocked me over! Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Nice! Up, down, hunk. Called it. Need a hand. Sigh. Viva la Lance. Also, I'm with Allura. I want to see pictures of Chubby Chud. Keith, give me the black belt. Need a hand. I most definitely have pictures. Viva la Lance. Shiro, my dude, hook me up. Need a hand. Sure thing. Last resort. Shiro, think about what you're doing. Need a hand. I am. I'm thinking about how it's my brotherly duty to embarrass you. Last resort. This road goes both ways. I can get pictures too. Need a hand. I see your point. Viva la Lance. God damn it! Lunar Goddess. Keith, I humbly request teenage Shiro pictures. Viva la Lance. Oh, fucking yeah, me too! Keith told me he had terrible acne and braces and a bowl cut! Lunar Goddess. Oh my God, please, Keith, I need you to see this. It's of the utmost importance. Need an end. Keith, why does Lance know this? Last resort. We were bonding. We had a moment. Need an end. We're talking about how I looked in high school. Viva la Lance. Damn right, and now I want pictures. Lunar Goddess. Same. I must ask you for your soul. Seconded. Thirded. Up, down, hunk. Fourthed. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Oh man, those are the good old days. I probably have a few pictures around too. I can find them on Matt's computer. Need a hand. Shouldn't you all be practicing? Up, down, hunk. Yes, I'd just like to point out that yes, we should. Auditions are in a couple of days and our practice hour is already half over. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Fine! Viva la Lance. No fun zone! Last resort. Lance, shut up and put your phone away. Viva la Lance. Make me mullet! Up, down, hunk. Need an ad. Do you think he did it? Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Definitely. We heard Lance's screams. Lunar Goddess. Shiro, we should get back to practice too. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Yeah, Shiro, Mom is calling for you. Need an ad. Leaving. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Up, down, hunk. Aww. I must ask you for your soul. Good luck, everyone. Thursday. The gym is Keith's only safe haven. It's where he goes to think. It's where he goes to be alone. It's where he goes to get away from everything. When he's here, he can get in his own head. Take a moment to think about what makes him tick. Work through his problems while his body engages in mindless activity. It's refreshing. It's rejuvenating. It's relaxing. And other than occasionally when Shiro and Allura hang out around him, he's usually left alone to do his own thing. He can just be himself. No worries, no anxieties. He doesn't have to think about auditions. He doesn't have to think about how him and Lance still have so much work to do. How they're still rocky with choreography. He doesn't have to think about how frustrating it is to work with Lance. He doesn't have to think about Lance and his stupid smiles and cookie flippin' attitude. He doesn't have to think about Hunk and how the big guy is so earnest and pure and quite easily the most genuine human being he's ever met. He doesn't have to think about Pidge and how he hasn't realized how much he missed having them in his life and how grateful he is to have a second chance at being close again. He doesn't have to think about Allura, who's becoming less like just his brother's dance partner and not quite girlfriend and casual acquaintance, and more like her own person and friend in Keith's life. He doesn't have to think about Karan and how the man he's always just seen as just a dance instructor and Allura's brother-friend thing is slowly becoming more like that exotic, weird uncle friend that hangs around because he honestly likes everyone and everyone honestly likes him. He doesn't have to think about Shiro and how seeing his brother interact with his friends is making him see a whole new dimension to his brother that makes them feel closer than ever. Here at the gym, he doesn't have to think about how he's never considered himself to be someone who had or even needed a lot of friends. He's always been fine with just him and Pidge and Shiro. Hell, he even considered Matt a friend at some point. He's never needed more than them. And when they started to grow apart, he had accepted it and hadn't felt the need to fill the void. He was fine like this. He had always been fine without constant companionship. And yet now he finds himself thrust into a group of friends that he never asked to be part of, but who are, for some reason, determined to keep him around. And the strangest part? He actually kind of likes it. He likes them. They're all quirky and fun and just good people. And all because he had made the decision to try out for regionals with Lance. Lance with his too loud laugh, Lance with his infuriating smirks, Lance with his irritatingly persistent competitive nature, Lance with his dramatic flair he puts into everything, Lance in the way he fights back against all of Keith's instruction, the way he complains and whines whenever Keith corrects him, the way he really does listen and try despite all of his protests. Lance in the way he actually makes a point to include Keith like it's only natural to do so. Lance in the way he... But Keith isn't going to think about Lance right now. Him and the rest of the group have been on his mind way too much lately. He's still a little floored that they've all been so ready and willing to accept him, how he just kind of slipped into their lives seamlessly and they've barely had to think about accepting it. He's not thinking about any of those things. Or about any of those people, because thinking about them never fails to make his chest tight with the chaos of emotions that are new and blinding, and he doesn't think he's properly equipped to deal. Just for a couple hours, he's going to let his mind rest, block out all those emotions wordlessly screaming, and ignore all the thoughts that are too loud. In here, in this gym, the real world can't touch him as long as he's within these walls. That is until the real world comes crashing through the doors to shatter his peace of mind in the form of Lance McFucking-McLean. What's up, Hunk Hogan? A hand comes down on his shoulder and Keith jumps, slamming his locker shut with a little too much force. He whips his head around, scowling at Lance's grinning face. He raises an unamused eyebrow, frown firmly in place. Hunk Hogan? Really? Lance chuckles, shrugging with one shoulder as he steps away, opening a locker a couple down from Keith's. I just thought, gym, wrestler, kind of the same thing, right? Does it really count as a mullet if he's balding? Oh yeah, definitely still counts. Even if it's an unfortunately coincidence. Though I doubt it. He was around in the time when mullets were all the rage. He tosses his bag into the locker before balancing on one foot, lifting the other to pull at his shoelaces. Now that the shock of seeing Lance here, of all places, is dulled somewhat, Keith takes a moment to actually take him in. He's got on sneakers, a t-shirt, and a hoodie, but that's not what draws his attention. He's wearing shorts, which honestly isn't too surprising, because it's a gym. Hell, even Keith is wearing shorts. But his shorts are skin-tight, cut off above his knee, and are black with a couple sweeps of blue. What the actual fuck? Why is he wearing, legging shorts? They show off the leanness of his thighs and draw attention to his toned calves. Jesus, are his legs shaved? Something wrong, champ? Lance says, snapping him out of his stare fest with Lance's legs. Keith rips his eyes up to Lance's, which aren't that far, to be fair. He's bending over to untie his shoes. His scowl is back in full force, and he holds it firmly in an attempt to find out the warmth he can feel creeping up his neck. What are you doing here? He pauses, blinks, and then a small smirk starts to curl his lips. Well, currently I'm untying my shoes. Lance, Keith says flatly, lifting a hand to pinch the bridge of his nose while his other arm wraps around his middle. He closes his eyes briefly. You know what I mean. He snickers. Sorry, dude, couldn't resist. Seriously, though. Keith lets his hand drop, opening his eyes. Lance has gotten one shoe off, tossing it in his locker before peeling off his sock as well. Then he's onto the other foot. What are you doing here? I've never seen you here, and honestly, you don't seem like the gym type. Lance pauses, looking up to narrow his eyes suspiciously. His lips purse into the tiniest of frowns. This conversation sounds strangely familiar. Keith holds his gaze and raises one eyebrow, unable to find the quirk of his lips at Lance's comical impression of scrutiny. Lance points at him, narrowing his eyes. You, sir, need to stop underestimating me, he says, trying to be serious, but unable to hide his smile. Instead, he ducks his head and pulls off his other shoe, throwing it and his sock into his locker. When he stands back up, he rests his hands on his hips. Besides, there's a lot you don't know about me. Like the fact that you shave your legs, Keith says, trying to keep his tone conversational as he gestures to Lance's calves. He's not sure why he said that. He just can't stop looking and thinking about it because what the heck, Lance? So might as well draw attention to it so he has a reason to stare, right? Yeah, great thinking, Keith. Draw attention to the fact that you're gawking at him like you've never seen legs before. Great idea! Lance seems surprised at first, smile fading as he blinks in confusion. Then he looks down like he's seeing his legs for the first time. He even wiggles his toes. Then he's looking up, head tilted to the side, and grinning sheepishly. He lifts a hand to scratch at his cheek. Yeah, I started doing that when I swam back in high school. We didn't need to, and I don't think it, does anything. But the whole team did it on a dare once before a swim meet, and I kind of liked it, so I kept it going. Keith doesn't know what to say to that, honestly, so he made a non-committal grunt and somehow manages to tear his eyes from Lance's legs and back to his face. I didn't know you swam. Like I said, there's a lot you don't know about me, he says with a wink. Keith purses his lips tighter, holding his face as impassive as he can. When he doesn't get a response, Lance coughs, scratching the back of his neck. Anyway, that's why I'm here. I mentioned that I was swimming a while ago, and Allura said this place has a nice pool. So I thought I'd come check it out. So that explains the shorts. Swimsuit. He should have known. And then Lance is reaching for the hem of his shirt, and Keith spins around on his heel. Nope. He's having none of that. Right. Keith's already walking away, uncoiling his headphones and putting one in his ear. Good luck with that. What are you going to do? He hears Lance call out behind him. He doesn't turn around. Instead, he shrugs, waving an arm vaguely. The usual stuff. Alright, well, see you later then, I guess. Later. Now, if this really were the usual stuff, Keith probably would have gone straight to the indoor track. Probably. He usually did. But when he reaches the top of the stairs, he finds himself turning left instead of right. And somehow, without thinking about it, he ends up in the weight room. And he's about 85% sure it has nothing to do with the fact that the weight room has a glass wall that looks down over the pool. Okay, maybe 70% sure it has nothing to do with that. 60? 45. He's curious, alright, sue him. He just learned the pain in his butt is not really rival, his dance partner, and kind of his new friend swims, and he's curious about it. Keith can't swim for the life of him. Plus, if he knows Lance and Allura, like he's pretty sure he does, they'll end up in some sort of race. And he's all for seeing Allura kick Lance's butt. He honestly should have expected to see Shiro there. He's hard to miss. A lot of the dudes hanging around the weight room are big, but his brother isn't just big, he's strong. In presence as well as body. There's just something about him that makes people take notice, and he's pretty sure it would be that way, even if he didn't have a tuft of white hair and a prosthetic arm. He's standing on the other side of the room, a couple of dumbbells in his hand. He's lifting them, but it seems half-hearted. A small smirk tugging at his lips, Keith slips across the weight room, sidling up to his brother's side. Enjoying the view? Shiro jumps, dropping both weights in his surprise. They both spring back to avoid getting their toes crushed. There's a hiss from the attendant across the room about dropping weights, and Shiro lifts a hand, muttering an apology. A heavy blush spreading quickly across his cheeks. Keith just grins, crossing his arms over his chest. Keith, he says flatly, almost like a warning, but also filled with a deep kind of exasperation that can only come from knowing someone for years. What's up, bro? Shouldn't you be, running? Am I not allowed to come see my dearest older brother? Shiro just glares at him, crossing his arms over his chest to mirror Keith's posture. He doesn't bother picking the weights up again. What were you looking at? He asks, putting the innocent edge into his voice. He turns, taking a step toward the window wall. Yep, that'll do it. Just as he expected. Allura is sitting by the poolside, her hands behind her as she leans back and her legs idly kicking in the water. She's wearing a one-piece swimsuit, white and blue and pink. Her hair is somehow wrangled back into a tight bun that sits close to her head, even as several curl strands fall down to frame her face. As Keith turns to look at his brother, his grin can only be described as shit-eating. Don't! Oh, what? You know what? Enlighten me. I know exactly what you were going to say. Shiro lifts his chin a fraction, glaring down his nose at Keith. He admits it's probably a pretty intimidating pose. Unfortunately for him, it doesn't work on Keith, not when Keith has known him long enough to see how flustered he is underneath it all. Don't! Keith tilts his head to the side. What was I going to say exactly? Well, Shiro's demeanor cracks. He tilts his head back away from Keith, eyes darting to the ceiling, the wall, the floor. He waves a hand around vaguely. You know. I don't. He sighs, pinching the bridge of his nose. He shakes his head. I'm too tired for this. Keith feels his grin widen, if only a fraction. He has to bite back his laugh. No, you're just getting old. Shiro opens his eyes, hand still at his face. His cheeks are tinged pink as he glares at Keith. To deal with you acting like you're 5? Yeah, you're right. With some difficulty, Keith swallows his laughter. He sighs, shaking his head and forcing his grin to fade. Alright, here's the deal. He looks up at Shiro all seriousness. Shiro raises an eyebrow. I'll stop acting like I'm 5 when teasing you. Thank you! Once you stop acting like you're 12 about your crushes. He feels the grin coming back, quirking the corners of his lips. Keith! Shiro snaps, pursing his lips as the color of his face darkens. What? Are you trying to tell me you don't have a crush? Because I wouldn't believe you if you did. Shiro stares down, looking 12 kinds of mortified and embarrassed. Keith just grins. Shiro sighs again, shaking his head. Why aren't you like this? He looks away, eyes once again trailing to the glass wall. No doubt looking at Allura. Keith doesn't bother to look, too busy drinking in the sight of his flustered brother. How's your little brother? Something changes in Shiro's expression. It's subtle, but enough to make Keith curious. He finds his gaze drifting toward the window, down towards the pool. I have faithfully devoted my life to... His eyes settle on Lance walking toward the pool, and his words wither and die on his tongue. He's tall. He's always been tall. He knows he's tall and lanky. But somehow, right now, he's reacquainted with this fact. His swimsuit is tight, and without his shirt, Keith can really see all the contours of his body. Since when did he have such broad shoulders? His arms and legs definitely don't normally look that defined. And Keith is pretty sure his waist has never been that narrow. Oh god, who is this and what has he done with Lance? As he watches, Lance stretches his arms over his head, back muscles tightening and rolling beneath his tanned skin, and he feels something inside of him wither a little bit. What is wrong with him? This is Lance. Loud-mouthed and obnoxious Lance. The guy who gets under his skin and pisses him off at every available opportunity. Keith tries to get back to his sentence. He's been quiet for a long time. He's been quiet for long enough for it to be weird. His voice is higher than he was anticipating, and he cuts himself off to clear his throat. He really hopes Shiro doesn't notice. But, of course, the universe hates him, so he does. To what? Shiro asks curiously, interest piqued. Keith doesn't look at him, but he can see Shiro staring at him out of the corner of his eye, and then he's following Keith's gaze and... And god damn it, he has that same shit-eating voice that Keith had a moment ago. Oh no! Don't, Keith says flatly. Don't what? Shiro practically sings. He's eating this up. Keith refuses to look at him. He can feel the telltale heat creeping up his neck. Whatever you're going to say, just don't. Shiro laughs, putting up his hands. All right, all right. And Keith breathes a small sigh of relief. He certainly wouldn't have backed down so quickly, but he's glad Shiro does. He doesn't have a mean bone in his body. So, Lance. Keith groans, slapping a hand over his face. He shakes his head. Shiro, it's not like that. Like what, dear brother? I know what you're thinking, Shiro, and it's not like that, he says firmly. He hums. Is that so? I'm not doing this. Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to talk about Allura? There was a brief pause, and then... Touche. Truce. For now. And then they stand in silence. Blessed, tense, awkward silence, while the two of them refuse to look at each other. Shiro doesn't move to pick up his weights again, and Keith doesn't bother going to get any. They watch as Lance launches himself into the pool, curling up to do a cannonball as he hits the water. Allura throws up her arms, shielding her face as water splashes over her. She laughs as Lance comes back up, grinning at her. He swims to where she's sitting and crosses his arms on the edge of the pool next to her. He doesn't know what they're talking about, and he doesn't really care. He's too busy glaring at the expanse of Lance's shoulders and back as it dips into the water. Hey guys. Keith jumps as a heavy hand comes down on his shoulder. He whips his head around, face contorting into Lord knows what, as he stares at Hunk in horror. On Hunk's other side, he sees Shiro in a very similar position. Hunk. Keith manages to get out, though his voice sounds strangled. Oh, what are you doing here? Shiro asks, recovering shortly after and managing it much better. Hunk grins at them both, completely oblivious to the fact that the two of them had been watching Lance and Allura by the poolside. It suddenly hit Keith just how creepy that is, and it knocks the air out of his lungs. His ears are burning! Hunk shrugs. I came here with Lance. He said he was going to come by and swim with Allura, and he asked if I wanted to come with. I've been meaning to find a new gym anyway. Pidge may not weigh much, but it never hurts to be prepared, you know. Keith gives him a weak smile, trying to ignore the warmth on his face. They're in a gym, though. Hunk has no idea how long they've been here. They can probably blame it on exertion, right? I'd be happy to show you around, Hunk, Shiro says, and screw him for sounding so calm, like he hadn't just been caught red-handed staring like a creep. Hunk grins at him. That sounds great, Shiro. What have you guys been doing so far? When I got here, you were looking down... He takes a step forward, curious eyes going to the window down to the pool below, and, oh hey, it's Lance and Allura. He brightens instantly, seemingly oblivious to Keith and Shiro stiffening beside him. Do they know we're up here? No, Shiro stutters for words. We just noticed them. Keith finishes, voice a little pitchy but otherwise calm. He exchanges a tight-lipped look with Shiro, a silent agreement passing between them. Yeah, I just noticed Allura down there when Keith showed up. Then Lance walked out. I don't think they noticed us, Shiro says with complete calm. It's 100% true, and when he says it, it doesn't sound creepy at all. Well, let's say hi. And before Keith can say anything to stop him, Hunk steps forward, wrapping his knuckles heavily on the glass and ignoring all the looks he gets around the weight room as he says loudly, Lance! Allura! Hey guys. To Keith's horror, they both look up, faces breaking out into grins as Hunk waves at them. They wave back, and Keith looks away, pursing his lips and really hoping the color of his face isn't visible from down below. God, he can't even make eye contact with Lance when he's like that. There is something seriously wrong with him. He excuses himself and walks away to the racks of dumbbells, grabbing two of them for himself. When he comes back to the other two, they're still staring intently down at the pool. Shiro doesn't seem nearly as red anymore, and he's even smiling. What's going on? He asks, coming to stand on the other side of Hunk. Hunk crosses his arms over his chest, easy smile on his face as he glances at him. Looks like they're about to have some sort of race. Look. Keith does, and sure enough, Lance and Allura are both standing at the edge of the pool in front of two empty lanes that had been roped off from the rest. They're both stretching as they talk, and Keith knows those smirks Both of those smirks. Those khaki self-assured smirks. Even if Hunk hadn't told him, he would have known right away what was happening. As they watch, the two of them line up by their respective lanes, standing at the edge and bending over into position. Both of them have really good form, and Keith watches Allura because she's so much easier to stare at. Who do you think will win? Hunk asks. Shiro smirks. Keith scoffs. Allura. They both say at the same time. Hunk throws back his head and laughs. He's not sure who's counting them down, but he sees Allura tilt her head to say something to Lance, who immediately breaks form to stand up straight, arms flailing as he says something they can't hear. His face looks mortified. And then Allura is launching herself into the pool, entering the water with graceful perfection. Lance's wordless shout echoes around the room below before he's diving in after her. They race to one end of the long pool and back. Allura hits the turnaround point first, but Lance is right behind her. But despite how smoothly he cuts through the water, he can't close the distance. Allura hits the edge of the pool with a loud whoop and throws a hand in the air, grinning as Lance hits the edge. He looks furious. He says something to her as he pulls himself out of the water and sits himself on the edge. Lance's head snaps up to look at them as he gestures violently to Allura, who's innocently treading water. His voice is muffled through the glass, but it's loud and echoes around the room, enough for them to make out the words, "She cheated!" Keith laughs. Friday. Group chat. Family barbecue. Today's menu, roasted Lance. Last resort. Whatever Lance is about to type into the chat, ignore him. Viva la Lance. Shiro, I have a humble request. Keith, screw you. This is between me and Shiro. Uptown Hunk. Hey guys, what's up? Viva la Lance. Hunk, buddy old pal, tell Keith to shut his mouth. Uptown Hunk. Yeah, sorry buddy, I'm not gonna do that. Last resort. Thank you, Hunk. Uptown Hunk. No problem, buddy. Viva la Lance. Okay, I'm gonna gloss over that betrayal in favor of pursuing my mission. Shiro, you here? Lunar Goddess. Hold on, I'll tell him to look at his phone. Last resort. Allura, don't. Viva la Lance. Allura, you're an angel. Lunar Goddess. Smiley face. Need a hand. I'm here. What is it, Lance? Last resort. Oh god. Need a hand. Angry face. Viva la Lance. Shiro, I have a request! Last resort. Shiro, if you have ever loved me, you will ignore him. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. If Lance's request is gonna embarrass Keith, I say go for it. Last resort. Pidge, you're gonna want to be on my side for this. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. What? Why? Oh god, what's that idiot gonna do? Viva la Lance. Shiro, I want to see pictures of Keith and Pidge in high school! Uptown Hunk. Oh no! Lunar Goddess. Exclamation points! Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Oh, fuck no! Last resort. That's why you're gonna want to be on my side. Viva la Lance. Shiro, send me pics of the emo twins! Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Shiro, don't you dare! Last resort. Shiro, I will disown you. Need a hand. Pretty sure you can't do that, Keith. Last resort. Watch me. Viva la Lance. Hunk, back me up! You want to see pics of this train wreck too, right? Uptown Hunk. I'm going to stay out of this one. Viva la Lance. Hunk! No! Uptown Hunk. Sorry, dude, but I live with them. And I'm not willing to take the consequences of encouraging this. They know where I sleep. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Hunk knows what's up. Viva la Lance. Boo! Allura's on my side, right? Correct? Lunar Goddess. Most definitely. I'd love to see pictures of them in high school. I bet it's adorable. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. No offense, but screw you, Allura. Last resort. I knew you were evil. I must ask you for your soul. What are friends for if not to relive your pasts with you in a humorous light? I say bring on the pictures. I'm sure we can all use a good laugh with the stress of auditions looming over us. Or you, as the case may be. I'm delightfully stress-free at the moment, by the way. Still, I think the pictures would be amusing. Viva la Lance. That's what I'm talking about! We're not the big Shiro! It's your brotherly duty! Nina and, as much as I would love to agree with you, Lance, and as much as I'd love any opportunity to embarrass Keith, last resort, I hate you. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Shiro, think about this! Nina and, I'm going to have to say no. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Thank God! Viva la Lance. What? Shiro, why? Nina and, it's been mentioned before that blackmail pictures are a two-way street with us. I don't think the revenge pictures would be worth it. Viva la Lance. What if I promise not to look at them? Luna Goddess. I can't make that promise. I must ask you for your soul. Nor can I! Up that Hunk. Same here. Viva la Lance. Guys, please! I'm trying to negotiate over here! Need a hand. Sorry, Lance, no deal. Last resort. You can stay my brother for now. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. You've made a wise decision. Viva la Lance. Man, screw this busted blackmail system! Group chat. Family barbecue. Today's menu. Roasted Lance. Viva la Lance has renamed the conversation Family Barbecue. Today's menu, flash fried emo twins. Up that Hunk. Not gonna lie, that menu sounds gross. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. What is this? Viva la Lance. I have returned to the bearing gifts. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. That better not mean what I think it means. Viva la Lance. Strap in, kiddies! We're about to go on a wild ride! Last resort. Lance, what are you doing? Viva la Lance has sent 3 images. Up that Hunk. Oh my god. Lunar Goddess. Oh my god! Last resort. Oh my god. I'm breaking your kneecaps. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Where did you get those? Lunar Goddess. You're both so cute! Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Allura, I like you, but I will not hesitate to take you down. Lunar Goddess. Bring it, short stuff. You're adorable. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Oh my god! Up that Hunk. Please don't kill me, Pidge. But Allura's right. Viva la Lance. Look at those 2 adorable emos! Pidge has black hair with green highlights! Keith has a douchey red streak! Still a mullet, though. Last resort. Screw you, Lance. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. I will end you, you saggy piece of bread! I must ask you for your soul. What a delightful display of youth! Reminds me of my days in high school. Tried to dye my mustache once. That did not go well. Lunar Goddess. It did not. Viva la Lance. I'm crying tears of joy right now. I have been blessed. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. I'm going to beat you with a garden gate. How the ever-living crap did you find those pictures? Last resort. Shiro, I swear you're being suspiciously quiet. Give a hand. I'm just trying to figure out how Lance could have gotten those from me. I didn't give them to him, I swear. Last resort. I'm texting Mom right now to send me your most embarrassing pictures. Need a hand. Keith, please, it wasn't me. We had a deal and I didn't break it. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Shiro, you ball of stale cereal. I will have my vengeance. Need a hand. It wasn't me. Viva la Lance. As much as I would love to see the retribution pics, I feel like I should say it wasn't Shiro. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Then how? Viva la Lance. Your brother, dude. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. Matt did this. I'm gonna kill him. Need to end. Pidge, let's stay reasonable. Cuckoo, motherfuckers. I'm sorry, I can't hear you over the sound of sibling betrayal. Up that Hunk. Pidge, you're starting to sound like Lance. Viva la Lance. This is the best day of my life. Last resort. Shut up, Lance. Delete those right now. Viva la Lance. Make me mullet mine. Last resort. I'm going to break our kneecaps. Viva la Lance. Keith, I need my kneecaps if I'm gonna dance. You ruined me. Last resort. Not yet. But I will. Viva la Lance. Are you gonna cut my life into pieces? Last resort. What? Viva la Lance. Is this your last resort? Last resort. Oh my god. Viva la lance. Suffocation? No breathing? Last resort. Stop. I made this username years ago, okay? I never use this stupid program. Screw you. Viva la lance. Can't escape your past, Keith! Just to someone discourse. Pidge was the one who told me where your username was from. Last resort. Pidge, what the heck? Cuckoo, motherfuckers.
Can't talk right now, Keith. Dealing with brother dearest.
Viva la lance. Teenage emo Keith is everything I ever hoped for. Viva la lance. I am living! Last resort has changed his username to Screw You. Viva la lance. Need an ant. Keith. Screw you. Don't you Keith be Shiro. Cuckoo, motherfuckers.
This is bullshit! I can't even get my revenge on him because Matt is stupidly not ashamed of his gawky, awkward teenager self! What the fuck is up with that?
Need an ant. To be honest, he hasn't changed much over the years. Cuckoo, motherfuckers.
I mean, yeah, but in principle he should still be ashamed. I'm offended!
Viva la lance. Oh, speaking of Matt, he also sent me this. Viva la lance has sent an image. Cuckoo, motherfuckers.
You take that filth back, you unfathomably itchy sweater!
Viva la lance. Not on your life, bitch! Payback's a bitch! Leaving Narganis. Oh, that's adorable. Up that Hunk. Oh, and they're sleeping and cuddling. Cuckoo, motherfuckers.
Hunk, I will hide all your favorite cooking utensils.
I must ask you for your soul.
That is positively adorable.
Need a hand. It is pretty cute. That one's one of my favorites. Screw You has sent an image. Need a hand. Keith, why? I didn't send those pictures to Lance. Up, down, Hunk. Oh, this is amazing. Viva the Lance. Awkward teenage Shiro. This is the best day of my life. I must ask you for your soul.
What a strapping young lad.
Luna Goddess. This is the best thing I've ever seen. Need a hand. Oh, Laura, please don't. Luna Goddess. Then what? Need a hand. Ugh, Keith, why? Screw you. If I have to suffer, so do you. Viva la Lance. This is the best! Have I died and got to heaven? Up that Hunk. I feel like I need to level the playing ground. Viva la Lance. Hunk, what are you talking about? Up down Hunk. Sorry, buddy, but if I don't pacify Pidge, I fear what they might do. Viva la Lance. Hunk! Cuckoo, motherfuckers.
Do it, Hunk!
Screw you. Do it. Lunar Goddess. Please. Need a hand. Do it! I must ask you for your soul.
You're outworked, Lance!
Viva la Lance. No! Up down Hunk has sent an image. Viva la Lance. Nobody look! Open your eyes! Cuckoo, motherfuckers.
Sweet, sweet revenge.
Screw you. Wow. Viva la Lance. Shut your mouth, emo boy! Screw you. I suddenly feel better about myself. Viva la Lance. Screw you! Need a hand. And you made fun of me for braces and acne. Viva la Lance. That was before I had my personal hygiene routine, okay? Luna Goddess.
Lance, you're adorable.
Viva la Lance. Shut the fuck off, Allura! Cuckoo, motherfuckers.
Shut up!
I must ask you for your soul.
Shut off!
Up, down, Hunk. Shut off. Screw you. Go ahead and shut off, Allura. Need a hand. I'd rather she didn't. Screw you. I'm sure. Need a hand. Shut off, Keith. Viva la Lance. Hunk, buddy, you brought this on yourself. Up, down, Hunk. Yeah, I figured. I don't blame you. Viva la Lance has sent an image. Up, down, Hunk. Sigh. You had to pick that one. Viva la Lance. Sorry, not sorry, buddy. Cuckoo, motherfuckers.
Okay, but Teenage Hunk is like actually adorable. Like a straight up prepubescent angel. I can't even make fun of him.
Screw you. Yeah, I'm with Pidge. Let's go back to making fun of Lance. Viva la Lance. Hey! I must ask you for your soul.
I can offer a diversion for you, Lance.
I must ask you for your soul has sent an image.
Luna Goddess. Come on!
I must ask you for your soul.
Behold, young Allura! Isn't she precious?
Up that arc. Oh, cuckoo motherfuckers. Viva la Lance. Come here, you are my hero! Need a hand. Oh my god. That's so cute. Luna Goddess.
I'm leaving this chat.
Cuckoo motherfuckers.
What's the matter, princess? Can dish it out but can't deal with it?
Luna Goddess.
A parting gift.
Luna Goddess has sent an image. Viva la Lance.
Come here, were you just born with a mustache?
A mustache for yourself.
I've been gifted.
Up that arc. That's honestly impressive. You are a strapping young dude, Karan. I must ask you for your soul.
Why, thank you, Hunk.
Cuckoo motherfuckers.
That's scary. That mustache is immortal.
Need a hand. Karan looks almost the same as he does now. Cuckoo motherfuckers.
I know it's not fair.
Luna Goddess. How about this one? Luna Goddess has sent that image. Cuckoo motherfuckers. Ah! Up down dog. Whoa! No. Screw you. Holy crap. Need an and. Wow. Viva the Lance. Put the mustache back on! Put it on! What is this witchcraft? I mustache it for your soul. What? Very angry face. Luna Goddess. Cool. Screw you. What is this? Why is this group like this? Viva la Lance. Because friends make friends share their suffering. Cuckoo motherfuckers. Fact. Up down arc. Truth. Viva la Lance.
Deal with a pretty mullet.
Screw you. I hate you all. Viva la Lance.
Aw, Keith likes us.
Need a hand. Aww. Up down arc. Aww. Luna Goddess.
Aw.
I must touch you for your soul.
Aw.
Cuckoo motherfuckers.
Ah!
Screw you. Screw you.
Saturday.
Keith! I'm exhausted. Lance whines, throwing an arm over Keith's shoulders and leaning his whole body into it. Lance hates that he doesn't even budge. He just shifts his feet a little to rebalance himself. Lance, get off of me, he says mildly. His voice is calm, but there's faint color on his cheeks. Then again, that could just be from the fact that they've run through their dance routine like 100 times in the past hour. Ugh! No! I'm exhausted! You're tiring me out! Keith, haven't you ever heard that too much practice can be a bad thing? No. Well, it can! Lance helps, draping both arms over his shoulders. Keith ignores him in favor of scrolling through his phone. Lance can see that he's checking the group message. If you practice too much, you can over-practice, and then when the time comes, if you mess up once, you get lost and you stumble, and it's harder to recover. That's why you're not supposed to actually, write a speech. You just write note cards and wing it. Keith snorts. I'm not really a fan of winging it. Yeah, no kidding! Lance rolls his eyes, sagging heavier on Keith's shoulders. Keith tries to shrug him off, but Lance isn't moving. Lance, get off of me. No! I'm tired. I'm sore. My legs are like jelly. Have some sympathy, Keith! Stop being dramatic. Can't help it, dude. It's in my blood. Keith snorts and tries to disengage himself from Lance once again, but Lance isn't having any of it. He wraps his arms around Keith's neck and wraps a leg around him. Keith grunts, trying to push off his leg, but he's persistent. What the heck are you doing? Keith, carry me! And why in the ever-living hell would I do that? Because you've worked me to the bone, Keith! You don't want me to trip on my tired legs and fall down the stairs, do you? Break a leg is just an expression! Use the elevator. You're so cruel! You piggybacked Pidge! Pidge is significantly smaller than you. Lance scoffs. What? I thought you lifted, bro! You saying I'm too heavy for you? I mean, I understand if you can't! Oh my god, Lance, just shut up. He sounds exasperated, but not mad. He pinches the bridge of his nose and sighs, shaking his head. It's a gesture that Lance has come to realize is him gracefully accepting defeat. Alright, but you're carrying my bag.
Lance lets out a happy squeal that he's not in the least bit embarrassed by it and scrambles away from Keith, grabbing his bag and Keith's. He throws one over each shoulder and hurries back to Keith, who's standing with his hip cocked to the side, arms crossed over his chest, and watching Lance with a raised eyebrow. Try as he might, if he's even trying, he can't hide the amusement playing across his features. Lance grins at him broadly, gesturing with impatient hands for him to turn around. Keith rolls his eyes and does as he's bid, shifting his legs apart to balance his weight as he bends down a little, holding his arms out to the side. Lance wastes no time jumping on Keith's back, wrapping his long limbs around him. Keith grunts, straightening as his hands hesitantly wrap around Lance's knees. He hops a little, adjusting Lance's weight.
Why are you so heavy?
It's all muscle, dude! Check out these guns!
He lets go of Keith with one arm in order to flex, but Keith spins, sharply throwing off his balance. He lets out a small yelp that he's a little ashamed of, and clings to Keith once again. Oh, rude! I didn't think I gave you front row seats to the gun show! Keith juggled. If I wanted to see Nerf guns, I'd go to Walmart.
Oh, very funny!
Lance says dryly. Then he straightens and points to the door, saying much more enthusiastically,
Ha ho, mullet! Away!
Keith doesn't even try to hide his soft chortle of a laugh. It's insanely adorable. Which isn't a weird thing to think, because plenty of Lance's friends have adorable laughs. Take Hunk, for example. His laughter is the best, and when Pidge really gets going, they get all snorty and high-pitched, and it's hilariously cute. Really? That's the best you can do. Lance scoffs in mock offense as Keith carries him through the door, and Lance reaches out as they pass to flick off the lights.
Well, I can't really call you silver, now can I? There's nothing silver about you, except maybe your pasty-ass skin. I would have gone for another horse reference, but Black Beauty was too much of a compliment. I have standards, you know.
You could have fooled me.
Excuse?
Face it, Lance, you need new material. If you keep calling me mullet, I'm going to start thinking you actually like my hair.
Lance scoffs and sputters, making a big show just for the heck of it, and possibly because he knows it might get Keith to laugh again. Please, Keith, this rat's nest!
He lifts up and revocates air. He's just going to ignore how soft it is. Like, wow, what conditioner does this boy use? Keith ducks his head to get away, but there is no escaping. Lance laughs.
Your hair is terrible and you should feel bad.
If I cut it, you'll lose most of your insults. Who knows, you might start calling me by my name.
Lance hums, considering. You're right. Damn it, I don't want all my famous mullet research to go to waste.
He can almost hear Keith rolling his eyes. They get to the elevator, and Keith nods to the panel. Hit the button.
The elevators? Really?
He says, but hits the down button anyway. They hear the contraption hum to life. They haven't taken the elevator a single time since they started this whole rivalry fiasco. And even after they became partners instead, they still took the stairs. There's like an unspoken rule about it. I'm not taking the stairs carrying you.
Sure! Be a wimp!
When the doors dinged open, Keith steps inside and Lance hits the ground floor button. As the doors close, Lance feels a strange sense of confinement come over him. He's never been particularly claustrophobic, and he's never had a problem with elevators. But there's something infinitely more private about being trapped inside a small metal box than being alone in a long, echoey stairwell. The silence that follows feels suffocating, leaving him with nothing to think about besides the fact that he's got a mildly attractive guy between his thighs. Okay, he admits that was a weird way to think of that.
Hey, Keith?
He says to break the silence. Yeah? There's something unreadable in his voice. Or maybe Lance is just imagining it. He continues on anyway, saying the only thing he can think to say. Probably because it's the main thing that's been bothering him.
Are you nervous?
He asks, voice coming out a lot softer than he had meant to. It takes him a moment to answer. Nervous about what? Lance lets out a surprised snort.
Keith, don't be a smartass,
he says, lightly smacking the side of Keith's head. Then a little more grumpily, he adds,
You know what I mean?
No, I'm not nervous, he says as the elevator descends. Are you?
Well, yeah. He doesn't see any reason to deny it, especially since Keith can't see his face right now.
This is like a big deal for me. I really want to go to regionals, and we've had half the time to prepare as everyone else. And we've never danced together before, and there's like 1,000,005 things that can go wrong. What if someone breaks their arm again? What if I break my arm? What if I get sick? What if I completely blank and forget everything? Oh my god, I'm going to choke, Arna. I'm totally going to choke!
He's cut off from his increasingly panicked rambling as Keith takes a step back and pushes his back up against the elevator wall. Keith leans back into him more heavily, pushing the air out of his lungs. He tilts his head back against Lance's chest, and he gets a mouthful of mullet. He sputters, turning his head to get the strands unstuck from his lips.
You're not going to choke,
Keith says, and screw him for being so calm about this.
Why is Lance the only one panicking? What? How do you know?
Lance whines. Keith shrugs beneath his arms.
I just do.
Keith!
Keith sighs. Look, how many times have we run through it?
A lot!
And how many times have I corrected you until you got the perfect form?
Too many times!
And did it help you improve?
Maybe.
And are you confident with the dance?
For the most part.
And who's good at pulling things off even when they mess up?
Me?
And who has faith that you can pull this off?
Shiro?
Literally everyone but you. So when you just chill, we'll be fine.
Lance groans despite the warmth that's spreading in his chest.
How are you so calm about this?
He shrugs again.
We've run through the routine enough times that it's just muscle memory now.
Dancing is more than just muscle memory, you know. Another shrug. Every time he does it, his shoulders rub against Lance's chest. He doesn't like that he notices that.
It's gotten me this far, and it's going to be what gets us through auditions.
Lance scoffs. Well, you sure are cocky.
Yeah, and you should be too.
The elevator dings as it opens, and Keith leans off the back wall. They stumble forward for a moment before he catches himself. Then they're walking down the hall. It's nearly empty at this time. The dance classes haven't started yet, so the only people here are those like them. More of the independent study type. A few people give them curious glances as they pass, but Keith doesn't pay them any mind. Whenever Lance makes eye contact, he gives them finger guns and a wink. He's the king of making other people look away first.
Hey, Keith?
Yeah?
Thanks for the pep talk and everything.
Don't get used to it.
Wouldn't dream of it.
When they reach the front lobby, Pidge and Hunk are already there, waiting. Karan stands in the open doorway to the office, leaning casually against the door frame while he talks to the two of them. When Keith and Lance come around the corner, conversation stops as they all turn to stare with varying expressions of amusement and surprise. Keith takes a few more steps toward them, and Lance is grinning, lifting a hair into the air.
Hi, guys! Keith!
Keith turns sharply, pivoting on his heel as he lets go of Lance's legs, pulling them off his hips as he turns. Keith hasn't been holding on tightly, and he's promptly thrown onto the floor on his ass.
Keith!
Lance repeats, putting everything into his offended tone as he glares up at Keith, rubbing his butt. Pidge is cackling behind him, and Karan is chuckling. Even Hunk is laughing, and Lance is so betrayed.
Special delivery,
Keith announces, gesturing to Lance with one hand. I'm not signing for that. Can we return it? Pidge says. Lance gapes at them. Rude! But Keith is laughing softly under his breath as he bends down to pick up his bag, and Lance can't bring himself to be too mad at him. Keith.
See you guys tomorrow,
he says, giving them all a small salute with two fingers as he turns and walks back toward the hall. Lance has learned over the past few weeks that Keith always parks in the back. As he watches him go, he remembers something and scrambles to his feet to hurry after him.
Keith, wait up!
Keith stops already around the corner and turns to stare at him.
What?
Lance skips to a stop in front of him, grinning. You know that red plaid you have?
Yeah?
He looks about 12 flavors of confused. Wear it tomorrow.
What?
Wear it tomorrow. With a black shirt and black pants. Keith raises an eyebrow.
Why?
Lance just grins. Just trust me. Sunday. Keith makes it to the studio nearly an hour before auditions. Despite what he's had said to Lance, he's feeling a little nervous. It's not often he performs in front of a crowd, or anyone for that matter, so he's not used to the anticipation of it all. That's honestly the worst part, having to just wait. Waiting, and all the adrenaline of it just souring in his veins. He knows once they get up there, he'll be fine. Once they're dancing, he'll be fine. Once it's over, he'll be fine. But it's everything that leads up to doing it that's got him on edge. He had been pacing around his apartment, unable to start anything, and unable to just calm down. So he had decided, screw it, he'd go to the studio early. He gets a key from Karan and holds himself up in an empty room, running through the routine a couple more times. His muscle memory is impeccable, as always. Sure, they changed it a bit when they adapted it for 2 people, and yeah, they added a bunch of things. But this dance was his first. He'd had much more time to prepare. And besides, this is his element. Memorizing choreography like this, it's what he's good at. Lance, on the other hand, it's not that Lance is bad. It's just not his thing. Keith knew that going into this. Even when he was trying, even when he was listening to Keith's instructions and mirroring his moves, Keith could feel him struggling to contain the urge to act out, to dance his own way. Keith could practically feel him fighting against the choreography despite his determination to learn it. It just wasn't in his nature. Keith could see that he wanted to learn, but his attention was just constantly drifting, and Keith had to constantly rein it back in. So Keith had drilled him hard. He had corrected him mercilessly. He had made Lance go through it step for step, making him pause to Keith to adjust his arm here, push his leg out a little there, curve his torso ever so slightly. He made sure each and every one of Lance's poses were perfect, that they hit the correct beats at just the right times. Lance complained. Holy crap, did he complain. He whined and he pouted, but he did everything Keith asked. He never gave up, and he let Keith go about nitpicking everything. Keith isn't even sure Lance realizes just how much it helped him improve. He's a good dancer, that much is obvious. And all the attention to detail making Lance go through it over and over and over until they were perfectly in sync, it had actually helped. It had drilled it into Lance's muscle memory without the idiot even knowing. Lance knows the moves. He knows this dance like the back of his hand. Keith knows he does. Keith honestly has complete faith in him. The real question is Lance going to get so far into his own head that he doesn't trust his body to just do what Keith taught it to do? Keith doesn't know the answer to that question, but there's nothing he can do about it at this point. He'd tried his best to give a pep talk yesterday, and that had been awkward. He's not used to being that guy. That's usually Shiro's deal. Still, Lance is his partner in this. It's the least he can do to try and get him to calm the heck down and trust himself. All Keith can do now is focus on himself and make sure that he does what he's supposed to do and just pray to anything that'll listen that Lance can pull this off. He's gone through the routine several times with long breaks between to just scroll through his phone to distract himself when he gets a message. Then 2. Then 3. He just watches as his phone blows up. Viva la Lance. Dude, where are you? We're here. Me, Hunk, and Pidge. I wanted to get here like an hour or 2 or 3 ago, but some people thought that was excessive. Rude much? I stayed the night with them last night so they could make sure I got here on time. Not that I slept much, even though Hunk made me sleepy time tea. It just made me pee a lot. I think my bloodstream is like 50% coffee right now. Is that a bad thing? Too late now. Anyway, where are you, dude? Don't tell me you forgot, or you're late, or you're skipping out on me, or that you got into an accident and you're in the hospital. I'll kick your ass, Keith Coconut. I swear I will. Keith! 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 Screw you. Lance, stop. Viva la Lance. There you are! Well, sort of. Where are you really? Like, physically right now. And the answer better be almost here. Screw you. I'm here. At the studio. Viva la Lance. Wait, really? Screw you. I've been here for an hour. I'm upstairs. I'll head down now. Viva la Lance. You got here early? Screw you. Yeah. Viva la Lance. Oh. Nice. Screw you.
This is a big thing for me too, Lance. I'm not going to screw it up for you.
Viva la Lance.
I know, I'm just nervous. Screw you. I know, but you'll do fine.
Viva la Lance.
Damn right I will. Just make sure to carry your own weight, hotshot. By the way, you remember to wear your red plaid, right? Screw you. Yeah?
Viva la Lance.
Good!
Keith shoves his phone back into his pocket as he reaches the bottom of the steps and steps out into the main hall. Auditions are set to take place in room 1A, one of the biggest rooms on the ground floor. A quick check of the time tells him that it's 10 minutes until the hour when it's scheduled to start. Everyone is filtering into the room, except for Lance, who's leaning against the wall outside the room, one leg propped up on the wall behind him and hands shoved in his pockets. He looks up as Keith approaches, a bright grin spreading his lips.
You've got to be kidding me,
Keith says, frowning as he crosses his arms over his chest. Lance doesn't need an explanation to know what Keith's talking about. He pushes off the wall and holds his arms out to the side.
What do you think?
He crosses his ankles and executes a smooth spin.
Keith raises an eyebrow. I think you're an idiot.
Oh, don't be that way, Keith. We look good.
You know this is just auditions, right? They're not judging us on appearances, just how we dance.
Well, yeah, but they'll appreciate the extra effort we're putting into this. They'll never know that we only had 2 weeks to prepare.
I don't think they'll be fooled by matching outfits. Keith deadpans. All the judges saw us signed up for solo auditions.
Lance just shrugs, putting his hands on his hips. His grin morphs into more of a smirk. Come on, it's all about showmanship. Appearances might not officially count, but we're definitely going to stick out.
I hope it's in a good way.
Lance scoffs and steps closer to sling an arm around Keith's shoulders. Have some faith in me, Keith, buddy old pal. We've got this awesome duality thing going in our dance, you know? And now that's enforced by our lesson casual fire and ice getup, he says, waggling his eyebrows and tugging on the edges of his open plaid. His plaid matches Keith's almost perfectly, except for the fact that it's blue instead of red. Both of them are wearing it open with black shirts underneath and the sleeves rolled up to their elbows. Like Keith, Lance is wearing black jeans. The way the blue and black complement Lance's skin tone, showing off the definition of his forearms. God, where did he get off? It just wasn't fair that he could dress like a hobo half the time, a douchebag the other half, and still manage to look good like this. What an asshole.
Keith rolls his eyes. Fire and ice, huh?
Yeah, pretty cool, right? Lance is grinning, and Keith glances at him sideways. He refuses to turn his head all the way. They're too close as it is. He gives Lance a flat stare, but feels a smile tugging at his lips. You're fired because you're Mr. Hotshot, and I'm ice, obviously, because I'm just that cool. He lifts his chin, tugging at his collar.
Keith snorts. The room is crowded. Much more crowded than solo auditions had been, but he supposes that's to be expected when everyone is auditioning in pairs. Still, his anxiety over being in such a crowded space surrounded by all the sound and voices, it's not so bad. Not when Lance's arm is still over his shoulder as he guides Keith across the room to where Pidge and Hunk are sitting up against the wall with Shiro and Allura. Hunk and Lance fist bump. Shiro puts an encouraging hand on Keith's shoulder. Pidge flashes them a thumbs up. Allura gives them a brilliant smile and a wave. Keith and Lance settle down next to the 4 of them, and it's comforting to be around them. It helps ease his nerves, still frazzled with anticipation. It's easy to ignore the steadily filling room when he's pressed so close to the familiar bubble of his close friends. When the clock hits the hour, Karan is suddenly there at the front of the room and not a second late. He welcomes everyone and starts his prepared speech much like he had for solo auditions. When he's done, he bows in an overly formal way that reminds Keith of something Lance would do, and strides off to the side to the judges' table. They go by the list order of sign-ups, which unfortunately means that Keith and Lance are last. When this is announced, Keith sighs. He hates going last. He'd prefer to go first and get it over with than sit and stew in anticipation. At the sound of his sigh, and what he can only assume is a sour look on his face, Lance leans over and whispers, "Hey, don't worry about it. We got this." Keith scowls, hunching his shoulders slightly as he slides down the wall. I'm not worried, he mumbles. I just don't like going last. Lance snorts softly, nudging his shoulder with his own. What are you talking about? Last is the best time to go. The first thing they remember is the last thing they see, you know? We're going to be so memorable that they have to give us one of the spots. Keith glances up at him, feeling his expression soften when faced with Lance's confident smirk. Well, you sure are cocky. He sniggers, tilting his chin down as he raises an eyebrow. Wasn't it you who told me I should be? Keith just smiles. The list of contestants is longer than Keith anticipated. Or maybe time just moves a lot slower when he's watching everyone dance. He's not really sure. Some of their competition is good, but others could use some obvious improvements. He watches them all with a critical eye, but it's not judging. He's just watching the choreography, interest piqued at what others might have come up with. Half of the time, he's not even seeing what people are doing, but rather the potential of what they could be doing if their dances had been tweaked just right. Beside him, Lance is a nervous wreck. He might have talked big about being the last to go, but Keith can see his nerves are frayed. He's twitching a lot. Keith can see him out of the corner of his eye, fingers drumming against his arms, foot restlessly bouncing. He watches the others dance with polite attention, but in the breaks, his eyes are shifting everywhere, lips pressed tight. He's not even talking, which is probably what worries Keith the most. Keith doesn't think he's particularly nervous, but Lance is doing a damn fine job of making him feel it. The tension is eased somewhat when it's Hunk and Pidge's turn. Lance sits up straight, crossing his legs and leaning forward with rapt attention. As the two of them plug in Pidge's phone and take their starting positions side by side at the front of the room, Lance leans over to Keith, nudging him with his elbow. I helped with this one! Keith eyes him curiously. I thought you didn't like to choreograph dances. I don't! Lance scoffs, rolling his eyes. I see it more like... He waves a hand around vaguely. Helping them figure out a good groove? How to get from one set of moves to the next? I help with transitions and stuff. He looks at Keith out of the corner of his eyes, giving him a sly smile and a wink. Impressed? Now it's Keith's turn to roll his eyes, but there's a good-natured smile on his lips. We'll see. Pidge and Hunk go through a complicated handshake with a lot of fist bumps and flaring fingers before they turn to the crowd, grinning as the music starts. They start with tapping their feet to the beat, wrists flicking, and then Hunk moves, quick, rotating on his heels and throwing up a hand over Pidge's head to gesture to them. He stands still as Pidge goes through a series of moves to the beat, moves that are high energy, but with that small Pidge flair. Then Pidge is moving, rotating on their feet to gesture to Hunk before freezing. Hunk picks up immediately, doing his own set of very Hunk-like dance moves. And then suddenly they're both going through a series of poses, each falling on the heavy downbeat and holding for just a fraction of a second before they're moving to the next. The first pose is together, but the following ones are different. Yet they still seem to fit together. Each pose, though not the same, seem to fit together in one cohesive picture, a frame that only lasts half a second before changing. The poses devolve into more separate dancing, but they're still together. Then they're slapping hands and gesturing together. It goes on like that. Their moves are together and then separate, but even when they're doing their own thing, it fits together so perfectly that Keith can't question it. They play off each other, high-fiving and punching the other into a new pose. And right when they look like they're going to devolve into separate dances, they're suddenly singing up again for several beats. Separate, but together. Always together. Keith sees how they play off of their size difference. Instead of spending the whole dance side by side, as a lot of duos do, they're constantly moving. They're doing their own thing, playing off the moves and energy of the other. They rotate around, at one point going back to back and taking turns in the spotlight before spinning around to show the other. They position themselves so Pidge is more forward, knowing that there's not much they can do to block the view of Hunk. Anyway, the dance style has a lot more energy than Keith knows Pidge likes to do on their own, but he knows Pidge is perfectly capable of pulling it off. There's a lot of big gestures from Hunk's style, but there are fine finesses and sharp moves that distinctly come from Pidge. At one point, when the music slows, they do as well, moving with the controlled fluidity that Pidge specializes in. He's actually surprised at how well Hunk pulls it off, but he supposes he's been dancing with Pidge for long enough, so it would make sense that he's picked up a few things. They move stiffly, body bouncing a little with each step like they're on hydraulics. You can practically hear the steam and grind of metal with their movements. And while each of them move of their own accord, out of sync with the other, it still fits together perfectly, like two gears, one big and one small, moving independently but together. They end standing stiffly, one hand each in the air, then slowly bending forward and lowering their hands over their torsos in a bow. The audience claps and cheers, as they have after every performance, but Keith likes to think it's a little louder than usual. That may, he thinks, have something to do with the fact that Lance is practically screaming beside him. It's not long after that, it's Shiro and Allura's turn. As their names are called and the two of them stand, everyone lights up with excited whispers. Shiro and Allura are legendary at Altea. They're easily the best duo here, and no one really tried to fight that. At this point, auditions are just a formality for them. Everyone knows they're going to get in, but they still enjoy the opportunity to watch them, nonetheless. Keith definitely enjoys getting to see them dance. They have such emotional and physical synergy that comes across with their dancing, and it's absolutely incredible. Watching the two of them, seeing how dance has helped Shiro get back to being himself after he lost his arm, it had been what pushed Keith into dancing in the first place. As they plug in Allura's phone and select the song, pausing it and handing it over to Garan, they take their places at the front of the room. Keith isn't sure if it's intentional or not, but he swears everyone in the room seems to shuffle back a few feet, widening the dance floor at the front of the room. It's well known that the two of them use a lot of space. They stand back to back, and as the music starts, Keith swears the whole room is holding their breath. He knows he is. The music is slow and emotional. They go through a series of poses, completely independent of each other, but playing off the other in subtle ways. And then they're together as the lyrics start, taking a long, exaggerated lunge step. Here, Shiro's hand is there, seemingly guiding Allura. Then they're stepping apart, bending backwards, turning, straightening. Her hand is in his as she goes a graceful leap to reposition. They come together before falling apart to the floor, quickly lying on their backs, side by side, but facing opposite ways. Allura goes into a bridge, and Shiro is under her, rolling over, propping his head under his calves to lift her legs, and giving a firm push to help give her the momentum to pull her legs forward. Then suddenly he's standing, her leg hooked around his neck. He swings her around to his back. She straightens as he bends forward, putting her back down on her feet. She's immediately falling to her knees and pulls him down with her. The music picks up and they roll, leaping to their feet to go through a series of coordinated moves. Their synergy is electric. They dance in a way that's physically emotional, playing out a story. Instead of dancing to the song seems to just be a background for their performance. They play off each other, limbs flowing but controlled. Allura never hesitates when Shiro lifts her or throws her around. Keith can see the complete trust she has in him, a trust gained after years of working together, and it damn near takes his breath away. With the way they dance together, the way they flow together, it's easy to forget that his brother has a prosthetic. The adjustments they've made to compensate for it are subtle, barely noticeable. The way they dance is so natural. Allura's hair falls freely as they move, falling in front of her face and over her shoulders, but only adding to the emotional appeal of the story. Their faces are relaxed, eyes only for each other. It's like they've completely forgotten they're performing in front of others. It's like they only exist for each other. Like the audience is intruding on a private moment. And it's a kind of synergy, a kind of tension and adoration that can't be faked. His brother is blind as a bat. Just Dance Partners is ass. When the music fades, there's a beat of silence where no one in the room dares to break it. And then Shiro and Allura look up, heartbroken expressions from a moment ago gone and replaced by bright grins. One person claps, and then suddenly the room erupts in applause. Shiro scratches the back of his neck, smiling shyly at the audience as Allura takes his hand and leads him into a graceful bow. Wow! Lance breathes beside him. Yeah.
Because there's not much else he can say.
Then it's like Lance snaps out of the spell that's fallen over all of them. He leans back on a hand, head lolling to the side as his eyes go half-lidded and he smirks. It's gonna be tough, but we can beat them. Keith gives him an incredulous look, one eyebrow raised. Beat them? We saw the same performance, right? We're nowhere near their caliber. Lance scoffs, leaning over to nudge Keith's shoulder with his own. Come on, Keithy boy, confidence is key here. It's time your old hag of a brother went down. Gotta make way for the new generation, right? Keith snorts to hold back his laugh. Shiro's an old hag, but Allura's not. What? Of course not! Have you seen her? She can be 10,000 years old and still look just as gorgeous. Keith hums an affirmative because there's not much he can say to contest that. Time seems to flow in a weird, confined flux after that. It takes forever to their names to be called, but once they are, it's like time has passed in the blink of an eye. Keith's head snaps up, heart instantly racing as a surge of adrenaline rushes through his veins. Lance is grinning at him, grabbing his arm and yanking him to his feet. Let's go, hotshot! They pick their way through the mass of sitting dancers, all of them antsy to leave now that they've auditioned, but politely staying. Keith hands his phone to Karan, song already selected. The man grins at them, idly twisting his mustache. There's an odd twinkle of what Keith thinks is excitement in his eyes as he says, Good luck, boys! Keith gives him a small smile, nodding as he goes back to Lance, who's standing in the center of the open floor, arms moving back and forth as he bounces on the balls of his feet. Ready for this? Are you? I got this shit down, for reals! Just try to keep up, mullet man! He sends him a smirk and a wink before he's turning his back to him. Keith steps up and puts his back to Lance's, and they lock arms. Relax, Keith says under his breath. I am relaxed! Lance hisses back. I can feel how stiff you are, idiot. He's silent for a beat, so Keith continues, a voice kinder. You got this, Lance. Just relax. Thanks! They don't have time to talk more because Karan's hit play and Elder Brick's Could starts playing. As soon as the opening beats start, they're both still, suddenly focused. Keith feels the music crawl beneath his skin, tugging on the strings of his muscle memory. He doesn't have to think. It's just another run-through, just another time they dance to this song. He knows it, and he knows he can do this. The anxiety and nervousness that had built up with the weight and anticipation oozed out of him, leaving him laser-focused. Despite the adrenaline that's spiking his bloodstream, he feels eerily calm. The lyrics start, and the two of them lean quickly to the side before jerking back to lean forward, their arms splayed apart. Then they're leaning back, arms locking once again. They both kick their back feet out, bending them at the knee as they lower their weight and bouncing a little as it settles. They hold it for a second before there's quicker motion. They put their feet down, arms unlocking, and in the air. They pose them up in the air, turning their heads forward as their wrists rotate their fists. Then, with the beat, they're going through a series of poses. Lance leans forward as Keith leans back, then Keith bends forward as Lance leans back, going back and forth and gesturing with their hands. One beat of a pause, then legs are kicked out. They rotate, dancing around each other, backs always to each other. Even as they step and spin, kick out and rotate. They stop after a short spin, backs to each other. They go through several moves, gesturing with their legs and their arms. And while Lance's back is to Keith, he knows Lance is perfectly in time with him. He can feel it. When Lance puts his mind to it, Keith knows he can trust him to sync up with them. It's an uncanny ability that Keith appreciates. They come together, Keith facing the audience and Lance's back to it. They have a hand on each other's shoulder and their free hands on their hips. Then Keith lifts his hand to Lance's shoulder, spinning him around. As soon as they're both facing forward, their feet are in motion with a new beat. Keith doesn't focus on the audience in front of him. He focuses on his body, his movements, and Lance beside him. The movements are quick, fitted in with slower movements to mix it up. There's a lot of hand motions, tiny feet movements, and then they jump, slow and controlled, landing with right knees bent and left legs extended, arms eventuating the diagonal. The inch up spin, and then Keith freezes as Lance continues, dancing several quick moves that Keith is fairly certain are improvised. They change every time. Keith counts the beats, and then Lance is frozen, and it's Keith's turn to move. To be honest, the moments of dance exchanges weren't part of Keith's original vision. But Lance has insisted, and Keith had given in, if only because they only had less than 2 weeks to prepare, and those were just moments they didn't have to coordinate together. After Keith's moment, they come back together, quick small movements and bigger slow ones, hips moving and bodies shaking. They go down to the ground, executing a few poses with their legs as their arms hold them up before they rotate their feet under them, jumping back up. The rest of the dance passes in a blur. Keith doesn't think, he just acts. There are a few times where Lance obviously stumbles over the choreography, but he recovers quickly. He manages to improvise for a few steps in such a way that it looks natural before fitting back in with Keith. Keith sends him a few looks, but Lance isn't looking at him. His face is set in a rare expression of concentration. They end very similar to how they started, back to back, making different poses before locking arms and stopping as the song ends. They're still for a moment before the audience starts applauding. Among them, they can hear Pidge, Hunk, and Allura the most. They let go of each other, stepping apart. Keith looks over at their friends, and he's nearly taken aback by the looks he finds there. Hunk looks ecstatic, sitting up straight and clapping loudly as he shouts. Pidge is on their feet next to him, hands on his shoulders and jumping up and down as they grin. Allura's smile splits her face as she leans forward to clap loudly, putting a hand to her mouth as she cheers. When she meets Keith's eye, she winks. Shiro is next to her, clapping and smiling and practically glowing with his proud brother expression. Even Karen is smiling, clapping him on the shoulder as he goes to get his phone. He's startled when there's suddenly an arm around his shoulders, steering him to face the crowd. Lance bows, forcing him to bow with him. When Keith looks sideways at him, his smile is wide, eyes and hair wild. There's a flush on his cheeks and he's panting a little, and he looks so incredibly happy. Keith feels something inside him stir, and no, that is not okay. It's gotta just be the exhilaration of dancing, especially in front of a crowd who won't accept anything else. Don't let this go to your head, Keith says, because he can't bring himself to encourage Lance's smile right now. He's not ready to face that. I saw you mess up several times. Lance gasps loudly, putting his free hand to his chest and leaning his head away to look at Keith. His arm is still around his shoulders. Why, I never! Keith, how dare you insinuate that I am nothing short of perfect? Keith rolls his eyes, putting a hand on Lance's face to push him away and off of him. Calm down, Beyonce. We won't know if we made it until tomorrow. Lance stumbles away a step. Aw, Keith, you think I dance like Beyonce? That's so sweet, he coos. Keith turns to walk back towards their friends, flipping him off over his shoulder. He can hear Lance cackling as he follows. Monday. Keith would be lying if he said he isn't nervous, as he pulls into his usual parking space that afternoon. It's a really strange feeling, and mostly because he's not entirely sure where it stems from. It would be dumb to think auditions don't have anything to do with it. Obviously, that's been weighing heavily on his mind. It's the whole anticipation thing. He doesn't exactly care if they made it or not. He knows they did their best, and yeah, it could be fun to go to regionals, and yeah, it would probably be good for him. But if they didn't make it, they didn't make it. There's nothing he can do about it now. But the anticipation of waiting to find out if they made it or not is slowly killing his peace of mind. And who the hell is he kidding? He really kind of wants to go to regionals now. He's kind of built himself up to the idea. And yeah, okay, so working with Lance of all people for a while has the potential to be absolutely horrible. But he thinks the goodwill outweighed the bad. Plus, they worked so hard. It would be disappointing to not make it. He'd move on, of course, but he'd be disappointed. But as much as the outcomes of auditions is bothering him, he doesn't think that's entirely the cause of his current nerves. It just doesn't feel right. He didn't get much sleep last night. His sleep was dotted with active dreams that he barely remembers. There was dancing, and his friends, and with his smile. God, fuck, that stupid thing is haunting him, and he can't quite figure out why. He doesn't want to figure out why. As he pulls his helmet off and runs his fingers through his hair, anticipation rolls in his gut. As he puts his helmet away and heads for the door to the studio, he's already coming up with reasons why it would be okay if they didn't make it. He wouldn't have to deal with choreographing something with Lance. He wouldn't have to deal with Lance's cocky-ass attitude. He wouldn't have to stress over regionals. He could go back to choreographing and dancing for fun by himself. As he pulls the door open and steps inside, he feels like he might be sick. Oh, what is wrong with him? A whisper of doubt is fleeting in his mind, but definitely there. He pushes that aside. He's already made friends during this whole ordeal. Some of them are friends he had to begin with. It's not like they're going to ditch him if he doesn't make it to regionals. They'll still be there and still talk to him and still hang out with him. Lance will still bug him sometimes, right? He doesn't think Lance's stupid idea of a rivalry between them will allow him to ditch Keith altogether. The main hallway is empty, but he can hear the chattering sounds coming from the front lobby where the bulletin board is, where results would be posted. He listens closely as he nears trying to pick out familiar voices. He rounds the corner and he pauses. There's a crowd in the front lobby, most of whom are gathered around the bulletin board. He spies his friends standing near the office door. All of them are there, and they're all smiling. Karan is talking with Allura and Shiro, who Keith notices are standing very close to each other. Like, as close as they can without touching. God, his brother is infuriating. Pidge and Lance are standing next to them, talking animatedly with lots of expressions and hand gestures. Hunk stands near them, smiling as he listens to their exchange. He's the first to see Keith. He looks up and his smile widens as he gestures to him. Keith lifts a hand in greeting just as Lance stiffens, straightening as he spins around. His eyes lock on Keith and suddenly his face is breaking out in the widest grin Keith's ever seen in his goddamn life. Keith! And suddenly Lance is there, charging across the lobby and wrapping Keith up in a rib-bruising hug as he lifts him off his feet and spins around. It's strangely reminiscent of what he had done in the bookstore all those days ago. The tension in his gut relaxes just as his chest clenches and oh, no, Keith is not doing this. God, Lance. Keith manages to grunt out when Lance puts him back on his feet and releases him, allowing his crushed lungs to draw in a shaky breath. Come on! Lance wastes no time grabbing his arm, practically dragging him across the lobby. Keith stumbles after him before he regains his balance. Lance pushes through the crowd right up to the bulletin board. Lance, what are you— Look! He says, dropping Keith's arm to point at the piece of paper that's pinned to the board. Then Keith realizes what he's looking at. The sheet of paper has two columns, one that's labeled solos and one that's labeled duos. Lance is pointing to their names. Keith barely has a chance to register this before Lance half turns to look back at him out of the corner of his eyes. They're half-lidded, his lips curling into a smug, confident smirk. He's practically oozing confidence, and while he's not bubbling with happiness anymore, it's still there. It's simmered down into something softer, more sincere, more genuine. Keith can see it in the crinkles around his eyes, in the way his blue irises spark, in the tilt of his smile, and the soft flush in his cheeks. We did it! He says then, voice strangely soft amongst the chatter and excited shouts around them. But Keith can hear it loud and fucking clear. We are a good team! With an odd sense of detachment, Keith feels several things all at once. His face is warm, the heat crawling up his neck all the way to his ears. His chest is tight, and he can't seem to take in more than a shallow breath. His heart stutters in his chest before pounding it into overdrive to compensate. A strange, shocking thrill runs through him from his chest to his toes. And it's with this odd sense of detachment that Keith realizes three things. 1. These reactions have nothing to do with the fact that he made it to regionals. 2. Lance McFucking-Klein is absolutely and indisputably fucking gorgeous. 3. He, Keith Kogane, is so completely and totally screwed.